I've been told that taking risks is important, but I'm scared to go wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like all of entrepreneurship is taking risks, right? Like, just by starting your own business, you're taking a huge risk, and by not going down a more traditional, job career path, you're taking a risk. So, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to be cool with taking risk. There's really no other way around it. There's ways to, limit that risk. Like if you're working a full-time job and you want to start a company, I don't think you should quit the job the day that you have an idea for the company. I think you should start building a business while you're working the job and do it on nights and weekends. And as soon as it starts to gain some traction and momentum and you start to have some revenue coming in, then you quit the job and go all in on it. So you don't have to take the biggest risk up front, but there's always risk, right? Even if a business is doing really well, it could all go to zero, and you don't really have a plan B as an entrepreneur. So it's something that you'll have to get used to no matter what.
Is there a risk too big, or do you think, because he's asking at what level is it good? You think, for example, dropping out, we just talked about that, is worth it?
I mean, it was for us. Like we both dropped out, and it worked out. I think so far at least. I think it depends on what you want to do. Like I think the risk of dropping out of college, there's risk with completing college as well. If you complete college, you're kind of put in, usually in the United States at least, put into debt, and then you're gonna get a job that usually takes a really long time to pay off that debt. And by not taking the risk of a different career path, you're kind of just forced down a different life that maybe is not what you want. And that's taking a risk as well, because the point of life is to be happy, live a life that you want.
I think applicable here is Naval says, avoid debt, death, and jail. And I think as long as the risk doesn't involve any of that, you should take the risk if you want to get at a point where we are at, for example. If you want to do shit for yourself, you're going to have to take risks, and as long as they don't, can result into that, you should take them. So it's actually a good thing if something is risky. That means that it's probably worthwhile to get to this point. Noah is in SaaS. It's a Shopify app, right? This guy is asking, what business would you start if you didn't do e-commerce? For me, in your case, what business would you have done if you didn't start SaaS?
I think I kind of fell into the SaaS world because I was already in the e-commerce world, and then had an idea for a SaaS that the customers of the SaaS were e-commerce brands. So it was kind of like a business that I had an idea for because I would have been the ideal customer for it. I think if I weren't to be involved in SaaS, or e-commerce, it would have probably been something more like environmental related. Like I've always been kind of interested in environmental science, and that's what I studied at school before I did drop out. So I have a few different environmental science business related ideas that maybe one day I'll pursue. Maybe after Social Snowball, that could be the next thing. But that's always been something that's interested me. So maybe something in that field.
Yeah, nice. I think I would do something based on the videos, some sort of, I don't know actually, I haven't thought about this enough, but something with the content, I like this. But still, like you said, my brand is my main thing, but in the future I'll probably do something around the content. There is one more good question that I wanted to ask you because I think it's relevant. We're here with a group of people that do similar thing. We all build our own business. How did you go about meeting them, especially in the beginning of your journey?
Yeah.
Is there one thing that really helped? Because it's the main question that I get. How do you meet friends that do some cool shit?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like most of the friends that I have that are long-term friends now that do similar stuff that we, hang out with and travel with, I met them all on social media. As crazy as that sounds, I guess it's not that hard to believe. But I think I met, who's our mutual friend on Instagram. His, friend I met on Instagram. I think I met from Instagram. Most people I met from Instagram, believe it or not. And then also events, now, especially for Social Snowball, I'm going to a ton of events and I've met some really awesome people at these events. But between Instagram, Twitter, that's where I've met most of these people. And now, this is years and years ago. So now they're just kind of friends I forget that we met from social media. But I do think that's how most of the friendship started.
So put yourself out there.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, and it was mostly just messaging people we had mutual followers, and I think I just messaged him or he messaged me. Same with, I remember I actually coming to Barcelona, what was this, 6 years ago. And I messaged him like, hey, are you in Barcelona? I've seen your stuff. Like, I know we have mutual friends. And he said yes. And then we met up in Barcelona, ended up hitting it off really well. And now we've, traveled all around the world together. So just DMing people, honestly.
So put yourself out there, maybe on Twitter, start tweeting. That's like a low barrier of entry thing. Don't be scared to reach out to people. Try to meet up. I guess at some point when you meet some friends, you'll meet friends of friends and friends of friends of friends. That's how I ended up being here. Like, I don't have that many, I've been traveling, but I'm only now starting to create like good friendships. And through them, I meet other friends like Noah and the guys that I'm staying with here. And did you ever feel hopeless at a point and wanted to quit? How did you overcome that feeling?
I mean, many times, and still often that I have that feeling. In the early days of Social Snowball, I had no idea what I was doing, and I was hiring software engineers off of Upwork, and they were destroying the app. And there were times where I had no engineers working for me, and we had a ton of brands using the app, and no engineers to fix the bugs or add new features, and it felt like there was no moving forward. And then I would hire someone, and they would make things worse because I don't know how to code. I'm not a technical founder. I would just hire engineers basically based off of vibes, and it turned into many disasters. So yeah, there were so many times throughout Social Snowball's journey and before that I felt hopeless and I wanted to quit. And even recently, like, there's just been little losses that happen every now and then that when it's happening, it feels like it's the end of the world. But you always do need to remind yourself, like, there's always a way through. Always. No matter how catastrophic, there's always a way through. Now, that doesn't mean it's always the best idea to keep going. I do think there are times where it's logical to not. Few times, usually you power through. But yeah, you can't have those little bumps in the road or points where you feel like it's hopeless stop you from, following through with your vision. Like, if you still have conviction in what you're building, then those little moments should just be little speed bumps. They shouldn't really slow you down more than that. If you start to lose conviction in what you're building, that's maybe then when you need to revisit, like, why are you losing conviction? But yeah, it happens all the time. It's just part of the journey.
Yeah. So keep going. If you don't stop, you don't lose.
Yeah.
But always look at if it's aligned with what you want to do at all.
Yeah.
Because is it worth it to keep going and pushing through those lows if it's not even aligned with what you want to do in the long term? Mm-hmm. If so, if it is, then keep going. Yeah. Just push through. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Right. Go to the link in bio and use Social Snowball. Yes. Come on now. Okay, last special guest for the last Q&A questions is my good friend. He has a brand. And
undisclosed,
and I value his opinion. So because of that, maybe you value my opinion, you should automatically value his opinion. That is why you should listen today. So we're gonna ask all the remaining ecom questions. 5K budget or less to scale a new passion brand, how would you go about it? No drop shipping.
Wait, no fashion brand? What do you
Passion brand.
Oh, passion brand.
So probably any product.
I don't know, that depends, because it's like some products you can very easily scale unpaid. But if it doesn't work unpaid, then it's a whole nother story. Like, really depends on the product, but as a rule of thumb, I would always try to get paid working, because it's just make really good creatives, have a really good product. And I would say product is like 80% of it, then creative is 10% of it, and then the media buying is like 2% of it, and then the remaining, like, if that makes sense. Because it's like the product is the core of everything. Because if you have a really, really good product, you can be shit at creative. You could be terrible at running the actual ads, and you can even have a shit website because the product is so good. So people will find a way to buy it, and they will not need some fancy ads to like buy it. So that's the core focus. And then you have the ad creatives, which is like second priority. But yeah, that's how you make like a very simple business that can print money.
So try to make ads work, but you have 5K, so how would you distribute that? Would you even not spend any money on product yet, but just test product without shipping it and then refunding customers after, for example?
Yeah, so I like the strategy where you basically, you get a really good 3D render guy to do a bunch of renders of the product and images and all this stuff, and then you create a landing page. And you basically make it look like people can buy that product instantly. It's like completely ethical, because what you do is you get the first, depending on the AOV, but you get the first like 20 orders. And then you can email those customers and say like, yeah, actually we just had we had a problem with production or something. So it'll only be ready in like 3 months. We can give you a full refund if you don't want to wait that. and then we'll let you know once it's out, or we can like keep your order and we'll ship it when it's actually available, because that way you can get like so much data on if it's actually gonna work. I know there's an American brand. What is it called? It's called Brewmate. They did that. It's a $200 million brand now.
Mm-hmm.
And their first thing was this like wine cooler to like keep wine bottles cold in the sun. Basically like a Yeti, but for wine bottles. That's exactly how he did. He just made renders, made a whole landing page. Then he didn't even collect money. He just got 7,000 email subscribers. And then that was proof of concept. And then he went out and spent like, a lot of money on the product development because that was like a fully custom product. But if he had gone out and spent 100,000 in developing that product and launched it and then it completely flopped, then it's just a waste of time. So I think it's a really good way and that would be a way, like that would probably cost you 5,000 to get a really good render guy, and you need to invest in that, because if it looks like super photoshopped and stuff, people are just instantly gonna catch on. And then run some ads to that landing page. That's pretty much 5K spent.
So basically, spend all the money on proof of concept, some that goes to making the product look real, and then all of what you have left on ads. And then after you prove the concept, hopefully you can do that with 5K. You can you can probably get money from someone, because you can show that the concept works.
No, for sure.
And then you can use that money that you get from other places to actually develop a product. And then you build your business.
It's also not every product you need to spend 100K. That was just an example. That brand, I know it was really expensive to do that kind of product development because it was it was like they pretty much invented a cooler for a wine bottle. So you need molds, you need all this stuff from suppliers. But for most products, you can develop it for less than that. Like, it's not expensive to do small customizations on a product, or most products is pretty cheap to actually go that next step. Then it's also more just like you're buying time, because if you want like a product customized, it can easily take 3-4 months, but you can get renders done and a landing page done and start running ads within a week, and then you have proof of concept super quick.
Yeah, it's also how you did it for your own brand.
Yes. Yeah.
So take notes. That's how you should use your 5K.
Exactly.
Have your parents always supported you in e-com?
Yeah. My dad was super encouraging when I came and told him I'm gonna drop out after a year in college. So it was full support. Yeah. Have they supported you?
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, they were kind of hesitant about the dropping out, but then as soon as I said there's no discussing anymore, then they were like, all right, we'll help as much as we can. What were the first 2 hires be if you start a brand?
It probably changed quite a bit the past like 2 years, because it also depends on like what kind of funds do you have available. How balls deep do you go when you start a brand, basically? Do you go very conservative and do a lot of the stuff yourself, or do you go in and it's like, I really don't want to do that and I can afford to like just find a person?
Let's say we bootstrap and we're like young guys.
Oh, like that.
20s, no money.
Fuck, that's a tough question. What is the budget?
Let's say there is
like
you're profitable. Okay, what would the first 2 positions be that you fill, and would they be agencies or people?
I mean, there's the obvious one, like customer support. Like, I'd probably try and find, which I haven't done myself, but try and find like a Filipino or Latin America operations person to basically come in and help with. If you can find a really good person for a decent salary that knows how to build out a customer service department and run like the daily operations, and because it's like without you knowing it, you're actually spending a lot of time like in the daily operations to begin with, and it's like you don't notice it, but it's like you spend 20 minutes here, 15 minutes there, and I think you could save a lot of time from the beginning doing that.
So a broad ops guy that kind of helps you out with wherever,
probably.
And then the second one,
because that kind of like then you also have it fully covered with the customer support. There's a lot of areas that guy could then help take care of.
And the second guy or agency, would that have to do with creative, you think?
Yeah.
Or customer support? I guess for me, I did what you said. I hired a general operations guy first. He's still with me. And he started doing the fulfillment issues, the order designs, the customer support, basically everything.
Yeah, it's this creep behind the camera. Yeah, I think creative, like this creative strategist, basically. Yeah.
Which is what I'm doing now, and so far it's been really good.
That's a good call.
But I only did it now because I was able to do it myself until now. Like I was able to scale of my own creative ideas, I guess.
I mean, it's also a very high ROI thing, so I don't know if I would actually, because this is one of the things, if you're really good at it, you should be doing it in the beginning, because it's not a waste of time. It is really a case-by-case thing, I think, of like what the priority should be. Like if you sell digital products, it's completely different than if... I think whatever you realize that you're not the best at,
but need to move forward.
Yeah, but it's like essential, probably not the best answer.
What business would you start if you didn't do e-com? We've been talking about this a lot lately.
A laundromat.
Laundromat?
Yeah.
It's the boring ass business.
Boring business,
Print
but
money.
It prints money. I don't know. I think I'm going to completely go out of e-com and just do something very creative. I was talking to a friend yesterday. I think product invention could be so fun. Like just because I love creating stuff, like inventing stuff. So I think I'd go way more into just being creative, inventing products and getting products out into the world, and then maybe licensing them or doing it as a service, or I don't know.
It's actually funny you say that, because I used you as an example to my little brother when I was in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
That is something that I think is your edge, and why you did very well, like repeatedly. And why I think my little brother can also do it very well, because he is like you, always doing things with his hands and creating things, and then I basically use you as an example to explain how you can use it in the real world and kind of invent things, and how that can be like really good as a business model.
Yeah. No, it's super true. I think that's a huge passion of mine, is just like creating stuff. Yeah. And it's true, like the current one, it's like there's so much creation into that, because there's a lot of it didn't exist.
Exactly.
Like you created and you put parts together, and it might not be that you invented like the fucking wheel, but you still put a lot of things together that then resulted in a usable product that filled like a hole in the market that wasn't there before. I enjoy that a lot. But then I don't enjoy, maybe not anymore, because I've been in the game for so long, I don't enjoy like the daily stuff. And
which is an interesting point as well for people looking in from the outside. It's basically like, he's probably living like the ideal dream life, but they don't see the day-to-day stress and like actual grinding in the trenches. Yeah. That like for most of the people you look at that are really in business are going through that.
Yeah, it's like daily struggles, daily stresses and stuff, which I don't think you get out of unless you exit, or like you're just a completely silent partner, because a lot of people would say then, well, you could just hire like a COO to like run the company. But at the end of the day, if you get sued for something, or if you get, everything is on you. Like you can have a guy who's running the stuff, but if he fucks up and something is not compliant or whatever it might be, you're still the one that it falls back to at the end of the day. So
you can basically only get away from that if you do like one thing really well, like inventing a product and then fucking up that product and licensing it.
And you
don't give a shit.
Whatever company bought the licensing rights to do your product, their problem. Whatever they do with it is fine, but you still get paid on a contingency.
Like you only do sales. And what happens after is not your issue. What happens before is not your issue. How the lead gets there. Yeah. You do sales and you're out. Yeah. But you have less upside because the business is not yours. But you still have a relatively high amount of upside. Yeah. But the diminishing returns might be like less for you. It's like, so if you get good in one thing, you might be able to, and not build like a full business, you might be able to like dodge that. Yeah.
Like I just want to do something that involves like less people, less Slack and email. I want to be creative, which you kind of by default when you run and scale a big company, you kind of get away from the creative, and it becomes a lot more just dealing, putting out fires, like all this stuff, which is inevitable in business. But I want to spend like 95% of my time doing creative stuff and creating. Just creating. I love creating.
Minimum margins. And AOV to aim for when selling a product, non-recurring.
I mean, you can always invent recurring stuff. So, I mean, mine is a good example. It's like, might not be super obvious from the beginning. You might think it's like a completely one-off product, but then it turns out you can actually come up with a bunch of stuff that you can sell recurring. So, but I would say minimum 80% gross margin. It's important. Gross margin, I just mean landed costs, not including like shipping to the end customer. But you can't really say like a minimum AOV because it's so broad. Like it can work with $40, $45. Exactly. It can also work with $300. It can also not work with 1,000. Like there's brands with like 1,000 AOV, but
not profitable.
They're just spending too much on ads because the product is shit. or no one is converting. So I would just say just aim for a healthy gross margin and have a good product, and then the rest follows.
Did you see the subscription on your product before you started it, or was it something you kind of thought about after you started selling it?
I think I only thought about it after I started selling it, actually.
Yeah. Which is another interesting point, that things can evolve along the way.
No, for sure.
Like, there is a guy that lives in this building that is now doing product testing, and they've been testing shit for like 1 year, or I don't even know, a long time. And at some point, I think you either wait like 4 years for the perfect vehicle, or you just pick a vehicle that looks good and just improve it and like work on it, because you waste the time waiting where you could have been improving or thinking.
Facts.
But like, who knows? There's no perfect way. I guess you can land on like the unicorn. But are you gonna? It's better to wait for the unicorn, or to just start with a non-unicorn and make it good.
Yeah, it's a tough one, because you can. Mine, for example, it was like very. I don't know. It was like I almost didn't have to try, because the product was so good, and the time in the market, and like the timing of the market and everything was just like perfect. So then you don't have to do much testing, because almost anything you do, that's what I mean when I say like 80% of it is product. Like if your product is good and is like solves a real problem and fills like a real gap in the market, whether that's like a price range or whatever it might be, it doesn't matter if you run like the shittiest ad or the best ad or whatever, like they're all going to perform. Like in the beginning, it was all just like so many different kinds of ads, and they almost all had the same ROAS. Like the shittiest of the shittiest ad you can imagine, and then the most pro looking you can imagine as well. Like the same ROAS, like within very close to each other. So that just shows you like, yes, you can test so many creatives, but if the product is good, it's going to convert the same amount of people pretty much. Like, because everyone that sees that ad, it's going to be like, oh wow, I've been looking for this. This is exactly what I need.
It's one huge realization I had from seeing you operate, because I'm fighting an uphill battle. But also, I might be over-exaggerating because it's Q3 and mine is such a giftable product. But yeah, if you want like a consistently scalable business, and you need like a sick product throughout the year that isn't seasonal necessarily.
Yeah.
That has good margins, ideally subscription. Did you take a course when starting, or did you jump directly in?
I watched a lot of YouTube.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. And yes, I took a few courses, but they were terrible. Like it was like the shittiest, the guru of the gurus. Like literally, I think one of the people I bought a course from, which was also a $300 course, so it was super suspicious. Well, I don't know. I guess that's relative. I think it turned out later on that he was actually like a no-ship guy, and he was shipping paper clips to like complete scammer.
We've met one of those in Bali. You remember we went out that night, and the guy had like a table, and one guy that I knew him.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That kind of guy is like what I bought a course from. So you see how that didn't. I also didn't learn anything from it, but.
So you just figured it out, basically.
Yeah, learn by doing.
By iteration.
I could have sped things. Well, I don't know if I could. I think I could have sped things up if I maybe invested a bit more. And that's why you'll find the link to my course at the bottom. I'm kidding.
That is the next passion project.
Yeah. I'll do
a guru course.
Creative course.
Did you ever feel hopeless in the journey?
Yeah, for sure. When I just dropped out, and I was like, because I dropped out of college and I was like 18 or 19 with like no like plan. Like I didn't even know ecom existed. I was just like, well, I think I might have known, but I was just like, I'll figure it out. And then I was just like locked myself in my room at my parents for like 2 or 3 months.
So I call it the dark period.
The dark period.
Like I went exactly the same,
right?
When dropping out.
Literally the same.
Like super lonely.
It's actually so crazy that it's like the same story, but I think that's what you need to do, because that's when that's when things happen. I was like in my room 16 hours a day, and I would literally wake up and just like work, and then I'd like
2 a.m.
spend 5 minutes, go get food, and then
Same for me. It's almost like the welcome into the game or something.
Yeah.
Like you have to go over
you have to pass the test.
Exactly.
Like how bad do you want it? They allow you through the gate if you survive that.
But a lot of you guys watching are probably going through that, which is like completely normal.
Yeah.
Like we've all gone through that, and all the guys you look up to have gone through that. Last one from Matt. If you had to live in one place for the next 5 years while scaling, where would it be and why?
Is this from Matt?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
I feel like he's looking for like a specific answer.
He's looking for... No, I don't think he's looking for a joke answer. I think he's looking for where are you thinking of being the next 5 years?
Have you thought about it?
I like what we're doing now.
I like Barcelona, but I think
Not specifically.
I was about to say I only like it for like a few months, then I get tired of it. No, I like this too. I don't think I wouldn't pick one place for 5 years. Like I like 4 months in Cape Town and then some months in Europe and then some months like fucking around doing whatever and a little bit Indonesia or Asia. Tokyo.
I think maybe for me, I see myself doing this for like the next 5 years for sure. What I think after, I don't know. I'll be like 26, 27. Maybe by that time I found my wife. I don't think I will find her
We've been
yet,
looking for her.
but we've been looking. But yeah, who knows what we want there, right? But do you see yourself doing this like 3 months, 4 months for the next 2 years, 3 years?
I think, yeah, definitely for the next like couple of years.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. I don't really stress about like having to think
Exactly.
about, I enjoy it now and it feels super right. Yeah, you might meet a wife, you might find a place that you like, just like I have to get a base here or...
You're a big Cape Town fan, huh?
I like Cape Town, yeah.
That's probably where you spend most time.
Yeah, but also like, I don't know, I was there 6 months and 5 months like the past 2 years. I think I'll do 3 this time. Yeah, I think it's a bit long doing 5-6 months, but...
So still wherever you feel like. Same for me. All right. Thank you
You're welcome.
for the questions. That's it.
Thank you.
It's like the ultimate guru sign off.
I know, right?
Thank you so much.
Why didn't you promote the course?
Don't go to the bio.
Huh?
They might be surprised in the bio.
Yeah.